everyone, and welcome back. It's Gina here from orchidandopal.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this simple crystal rondelle and bicone bracelet. I'll leave the full list of materials as well as links to those materials right down below the video. You can find everything you need from Beebeecraft, and I have a coupon for them as well that will save you $5 off your purchase of $40 or more. That coupon code is OPAL5, and I'll leave that down below as well. At Beebeecraft, you can get free shipping on all orders over $25, and they do ship worldwide. Just allow a couple weeks for delivery. So as you can see, we're going to be using some 3x2 and 8x6mm crystal rondelles, as well as some 4mm bicones and some 11/0 seed beads today. Those are all pretty common materials, and for the bracelet that's already finished, the larger rondelles and the bicones actually came from the recent bargain bead box. With this project, you will be using 2 beading needles. I'm using the size 11, but you can definitely use a size 10 for this one. And I'll be using some 6-pound Fireline. We're going to get started just by using the smaller 3x2 crystal rondelles. So if you want to get those out and add your needles to a length of thread that you're comfortable working with, we can go ahead and jump into this tutorial. To begin this bracelet, go ahead and on one needle pick up 3 of your smaller rondelles. And then you're going to cross through a 4th one. So you can pull down a 4th one and go through that through the opposite direction and cross through that 4th rondelle with your other needle. And then holding on to both of the needles, I like to pull these down at the same time and get those beads to sit right at the center of the beading thread. Once you have that little group of 4 and you have your needles straightened out left and right, you can go ahead and pick up 6 rondelles on one side. Pull those down. And then pick up 5 rondelles on the other side. You can pull these down, and then you're going to take that same needle that you used to string on 5, and you're going to go through the 6th rondelle on the other side through the opposite direction to cross through that one. And your needles will switch sides at that point. And now you have a larger loop connected to the original smaller one. You're going to keep doing an alternating pattern of these 2 loops for the entire length of your bracelet. The one I'll be making today will be about 7 inches in length, with perhaps just a little bit more added to the length with the clasp attached. But let's continue on. We're going to now make a smaller loop that consists of 4 beads, which will also include this one on the end. So really we only need to add 2 more on one side and 1 on the other, and then cross through. So 2 more on one side of your needle and bring that down. Pick up 1 with your other needle. And then with that same needle, you can go ahead and cross through that 2nd rondelle on the other side, and your needles will switch places again. And now we're ready for the larger loop. So that was picking up 6 on one side, and picking up 5 on the other. And then crossing through that 6th one. And your needles will switch places. And then you go back to the small loop again to add that onto the larger loop, and you keep repeating that pattern all the way until you are satisfied with the length of your beadwork. That will end up being the same length of your bracelet once it's finished. And you're going to be ending with a small loop so that they are the same on both ends. So go ahead and back up the video if you need to, but keep beading and we will meet back once we have the full length laid out for our bracelet. And welcome back. So at this point, both of my needles are crisscrossed through this final rondelle right here. And we're going to start turning around and going back the opposite direction to continue on with the next step. So I'm going to turn my work like this. And I'm going to take the needle that is on the right, and I'm going to first pick up an 11/0 seed bead, then go through the next rondelle. Then I'm going to pick up another 11/0 seed bead, and I'm going to cross through this rondelle that begins the larger loop section. So we've placed those 2 seed beads, and now we want to do the same thing on the other side. So picking up your other needle, you'll repeat that by picking up an 11/0 and going through the next rondelle, picking up one more 11/0 and going through this rondelle here. So that's what you should have so far, and you can continue working with that same needle and proceed through the next 3 rondelles. At this point, you're going to also be working with the larger 8 by 6 millimeters, and we'll pick one of those up, and you can bring that down. It's going to end up sitting right in the middle and on top of this larger ring. Looking at your other side of these smaller rondelles and going in the opposite direction, sew through the 3 rondelles that are on the left side of that loop and pull, and then sew through the rondelle that is at the bottom of that loop. Now picking up with your other needle, you want to mirror that by now sewing through the 3 rondelles on this side, and then you're going to cross through the rondelle that's already in place there, and then sew through the 3 rondelles heading towards your next section, and sew through the rondelle at the end of that loop. So this is what you should have so far. You have your larger rondelle bead tacked down there, as you can see, and it's sitting in place nice and neat. Your needles are now crisscrossing through that rondelle that starts the smaller beaded section. And now what we're going to do is add some seed beads around that larger crystal. We're going to pick up 3 of our 11/0s and sew through the rondelle, pick up 3 more 11/0s and sew through the rondelle at the other end of that loop, and cross through that one. Then pick up your other needle and pick up 3 11/0s, sew through the rondelle on the other side, pick up 3 11/0s, and then cross through the rondelle there at the top. And then go ahead and just kind of pull that and make sure those seed beads are starting to sit right around that larger crystal, just like that. Now I'm going to pick up the other needle, but you'll do this on both sides. Go through the 3 11/0s you get to first. Then pick up 1 11/0 and you can go through the next 3 11/0s. Then go through the rondelle that is at the bottom. So do that on the other side now. Go through the 3 seed beads you get to first. Pick up a seed bead and sew through the next 3. Now cross through the rondelle there at the end. Alright, so that's pretty much what you're going to be repeating all the way to the end of your bracelet. Once you get to the smaller section, we're going to do sort of like we did when we started. We're going to add in a seed bead on either side of these rondelles. So let's go ahead and pick one up, and then sew down through the next rondelle, pick up another seed bead, and then cross through that bottom rondelle. Now do that on the other side, pick up a seed bead, go through the next rondelle, pick up a seed bead, and then cross through the one down there at the bottom. Pull nice and tight, and now you're ready to start your next rondelle section, adding in one of your larger ones to the center of this area. So once again, just back up the video if you need to refresh on how to add in that larger rondelle as well as the seed beads around it. And then once you have done that all the way to the end of your piece, we can meet back and pick up for the next step. And welcome back again. Your bracelet should be starting to look something like this, and I'll be using some wire guards on either side of the bracelet. You don't have to do that. You can just add a loop of seed beads that's large enough to attach some jump rings and a clasp, but I like the additional security with the wire guard. So what I like to do here, I have both my needles crossing through this very end rondelle. I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads on one side, and then I'm going to pick up a wire guard, and I'll loop around that. And then I'll pick up my other beading needle and pick up 2 seed beads on this side. And I'll wrap through or sew through the wire guard in the opposite direction, so we're crisscrossing through that. And then I'm going to go around this section one more time. So I'm going through the wire guard and the next 2 seed beads. Then I'm going to go back through the rondelle right here, up through these 2 seed beads and the wire guard, and then around the wire guard, and we'll get this needle into position for our next step. I'm also going to go through the next seed bead, rondelle, and seed bead. And then I'm going to cross through this rondelle there at the top. So now picking up with the other needle, so we can start to position that correctly, we're going to go down through these 3 seed beads, the rondelle, and the seed bead. Then cross through that same rondelle down there. Alright, so take a moment, make sure that is secure, get your threads straightened out, and now we are on the final step, and you can pull out your bicone beads at this point. And starting on one side, we're going to go through the first 4 out of the 5 rondelles on this side. So right at this point, we're coming out, we're going to pick up 2 seed beads, a bicone, and 2 seed beads. And then looking at our next larger section where our next 8mm rondelle is, we're going to skip that first rondelle right there and then go through the middle 3 out of those 5. So you can see that's adding a little bicone and seed bead section right there in between the larger bead sections. So let's do that on the other side. We're going to take our needle and go through the first 4 of these 3mm rondelles. We're going to pick up 2 seed beads, a bicone, and 2 seed beads. Looking at our next section, we'll skip the first rondelle and then go through the center 3 out of the 5. So let's do that one more time. We're now in position to pick up. 2 seed beads, a bicone, and 2 seed beads, and sew through the center 3 rondelles in that next section. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. 2 seed beads, a bicone, and 2 seed beads. Sew through the 3 rondelles in the center of the next section. Pull that nice and tight after each addition, and keep doing that all the way to the end of your bracelet, at which point we will meet back and finish up. Alright, so now we are at the end of our bracelet, and you can weave through those last rondelles and seed beads, so you're finally going to be coming out through the rondelle there that's at the top, just crisscrossing through that one, and we just need to add on our wire guard to this side so we can match the other side of our bracelet. So like we did before, I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads and the wire guard and cross through that. And you can actually go ahead and just pick up the 2 seed beads with the same thread as well. And then go through the rondelle and pull, and then with my other thread I'll go ahead and go up the 2 seed beads and cross through the wire guard and go down that and the next 2 seed beads, and then I will go through that section again with the same thread one more time just to reinforce it. And I'm just going to go down those seed beads. And I'm just going to continue on a little bit with this thread. I'm going to make a half hitch knot right here. I'll continue sewing through some rondelles. I'll make another half hitch knot by going underneath that thread bridge, making a loop, sewing through it, going through a couple more beads. I'll make one more knot right here, and then continue sewing through a few more beads, and then I will trim off that excess thread. And I will do the same thing on the other side to weave in this second thread and knot it, and then we will add our jump rings and clasp. Alright, one side of the clasp is on, and we just need to add the other side, so I'm just going to twist open my jump ring a little bit, put that on the wire guard, add the other side of the toggle clasp, and then twist that section to close, and there we have it. So here is our completed bracelet and a look at what the back should look like. You can make these in so many different varieties of colors and really have fun with that. Again, you can find all of the beads and all of the materials besides the Fireline at Beebeecraft, and the link for that and that coupon code OPAL5 will be listed right down below the video. If you enjoyed this tutorial, feel free to give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe while you're here. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you plan to make this or have made this or have anything else you'd like to say. I'm so glad that you are here for another tutorial. Thank you so much for joining me. That's all I have for now. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and as always, happy beading.